So hi, everybody. I'm Tamara Halverson. I'm with Via Customers. We're a software company that helps build more meaningful customer relations for the world's businesses with a suite of mobile commerce tools. And in the world of social media marketing, the landscape can be challenging to navigate. So how do you find and keep and build your brand's most loyal customers? And today we have the pleasure of speaking with two business owners who have navigated their way through growing a social media following and converting them into an owned audience, adding SMS marketing. So over this next hour, they're going to share actually their real case studies of online stores just like yours and how to unlock explosive list growth on both social and SMS marketing. So before we kick things off though, I do want to thank you for joining us today and on behalf of Via Customers, because we know your time is very valuable and we're grateful that you have chosen to be a part of this webinar with us. So our agenda today consists of, number one, just a slight introduction, also to introduce you to my co-hosts, Kurt Bell and Ryan Dixon here. They'll be helping me take over too. And then we're going to have a presentation and talk with Sammy. She is the owner of Banks Jewelry. Then also Quentin, he is the owner of and co-founder of Urban Eden. And then we have, like Chaz had mentioned, he is our marketing champion here, our Q&A. So we'd love to have you ask us any questions in that chat feature, because we'll have Kurt go through those questions and help answer those along with our guest speakers today. So I do just want to go ahead and roll right into Kurt, and I'll turn the time over to him.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Tamara. Excited to be here with everyone. This should be a great opportunity today to learn from Sammy and Quentin. I know we've been stoked for this, looking forward to it for a few weeks now. But before we dive into the conversation and kind of turn the time over to the main focal point, wanted to provide maybe an update or maybe a high level overview of some trends that we're noticing in the marketplace, both SMS, mobile commerce, e-commerce in general. So as we know, with recent updates with iOS 14 and more strict regulations, maybe email, paid social, other channels, we found it more important than ever to emphasize the importance or the difference between an owned audience and a rented audience, right? That owning that data, owning their phone numbers, their emails, having them install a mobile app of your company on their phone, it's being more important than ever for you to own that real estate of your customers. With that being said, the hope for today's conversation is to kind of highlight how you can leverage maybe the rented audience, such as social media or other aspects, to grow the owned audience of your SMS, email, and mobile app lists. So that's the hope, is to show how that relationship works between SMS and transitioning them, social media and transitioning them over into SMS. And then once they've come over to that owned audience, how do you leverage those relationships that you built with customers to continue to build on that customer loyalty, continue to re-engage and have them become repeat customers? So we've got two experts in the field between Sammy and Quentin today. Really excited to learn from them. As was stated previously by Tamara, we'll have the opportunity to learn. There will be some Q&A between the VIA team and the guests that we have here. But at the end, we'll open it up and you'll have the opportunity to ask questions of your own. So please be taking notes, note down questions that you'd like to ask, and excited to cover them when the time comes. But Tamara, I'll turn it back over your way.
Perfect. Thank you. And I'm going to also invite our other co-host, Ryan, here with us, Ryan and Sammy. Ryan is actually Sammy's customer success manager. So they definitely have a really great bond. That's why we love bringing Ryan in here. But I do want to introduce Sammy just a little bit. Sammy Dehan has been creating beautiful stackable jewelry for over 3 years. So her creativity shows throughout, from her website to her social media, bringing her unique style to life. And to quote Sammy, she says, having Banks is the ultimate creative outlet, and having the freedom to not only manage my own vision and projects, but to actually make the final decision and watch my imagination come to life, end quote. And Sammy loves retreating into the rugged terrain of the Utah mountains and all over. And don't let her fashion and her beauty fool you, though. She is all about rafting and camping and travel. Sammy loves animals, particularly she's got some great dogs, and she is married to her cat, Ozzy. So, but I'm going to turn the time over to Ryan and Sammy.
Yeah, so I can quickly introduce myself. So I've worked with Sammy over the last few months. She's done exceptionally well with SMS marketing, particularly like correlating that with her social media. So this next like couple slides, Sammy will kind of talk into really like where she got the idea of starting Banks and really where she really started to flourish with her social media and how she really approached her audience. And then at the end of kind of what she wants to talk about with her business, I'll kind of take the lead and really explain a few things that we've done with her on her social media and how we can push that into an SMS as well. So Sammy, I don't know if you want to go on to the next slide and kind of just give a high level overview of your business and how you've really helped grow that with social media.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I am Sammy. I'm on my office manager's computer. So I know it says Katrina, but it's actually, don't be confused. It's Sammy. I just needed my computer for something else. But yeah, I'm Sammy. I own Banks Jewelry. I owned it for about 3 years. I did corporate marketing for a restaurant for 7 years. I kind of thought that was like my end all be all career. And then I worked in that industry for so long, I thought I would be there forever. And then once I got to where I wanted to be, I was kind of like, wait, I don't think this is enough. And then I just honestly like had the idea to start a jewelry company one day. I remember I saw another company and I was like, oh, I could do that. And I feel like I could do it better. I don't know. So I just like kind of played around with it, bought $500 worth of jewelry at the time just to play with it. I had no idea how to even get a business license or what an EIN number or anything was. And then I just started Banks, and I actually ended up quitting my big corporation job like 2 or 3 months later. And the first 2 years were kind of just like, I had no idea what I was doing. So I was almost kind of just like playing around with it. Even though like it was still like a business in my livelihood, it was kind of just almost like a hobby that I literally had no idea what I was doing. And now it's been 3 years and I feel like this is the first year I've like really kicked it into like high gear and like focused on building my business and my brand. But Banks is just, I don't know, I feel like it's a little bit different than any other jewelry company. As far as any of the other ones that I've seen, I really focus on like grassroots marketing. So like building relationships with my customers versus like just having customers that are purchasing from me. We offer like stackable quality jewelry at an affordable price, which is great, but really like every single order that I get, I really try and focus on it being almost more of like an experience versus just a purchase. So our packaging is beautiful. We put dried flowers in all of our packaging. I always put, like a bounce back coupon, not a coupon, but like a discount code in with all my orders. We don't really do sales at my shop. So this is kind of like my niche, that and text messaging. I'm like, look, like if you want a discount code, you have to order from us to get one, or you have to be a part of our text messaging club. So that's kind of like one of the ways that I get people to sign up for text messaging. But anyways, and then we do like free gifts all the time instead of just sending out our orders. Instead of like spending money on marketing or influencers or things like that, I prefer to have like a budget allocated towards sending a free gift that's like, hey, like we just thought you might like this extra piece of jewelry, like thanks for shopping, or you've been a loyal customer for a long time, like here's a free pair of earrings. So that's kind of like my business strategy. It's more of like a relationship based strategy, marketing strategy, feeling like people like know me and that they're having an experience versus just ordering from a jewelry company that's local. So that is a little bit about me and Banks. I guess we could go to the next slide now. Okay. So, oh.
There we go.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
So I can probably speak to this slide. So Sammy, like she mentioned, her business is very relationship based. So I think that when you correlate that with social media and SMS marketing, I love how she mentioned that she doesn't necessarily do a lot of sales. I think that's probably a misconception when it does come to SMS marketing, where you don't, a lot of people will, or a lot of businesses will just send out like flash sales, promos, etc. Sammy's done a great job on building a relationship, and her campaigns over the last month, I believe it's what 23x on ROI, and she doesn't do sales, and it's very relationship based. And I think that's because she's built such a great relationship with her subscribers or her followers on Instagram. Over the last month or so, she's doubled her subscribers growth on SMS. She's doing a lot of Instagram posts with her stories. With Via, we're actually able to attach a link to her Instagram stories that will automatically, when somebody swipes up on her stories, it will opt them into marketing. And she's done a great job at doing that. And it obviously the numbers will show here, and she can talk a little bit more on the next couple of slides on how she creates those stories and how she really just puts all of her marketing expertise to work. But here's like, again, some high level overview of her subscriber growth over the last month in June. 23x ROI. She has a really great click-through rate, 8.5%. Her conversion rate is great as well. And I really think that is because she has done such a great job with her social media. So, you know, we can probably go on the next slide and she can kind of go into a little bit more detail on how she's really built that relationship with her Instagram followers and her strategies with her Infeed and subscriber growth. So, I mean, this slide as well, I can talk to as well. So she, with her SMS subscribers, there's a few ways that she's really grown that, and that's through obviously her website. So with the Via pop-up, you can see on the bottom right, like that's the pop-up on the mobile experience. Really try to make that a native experience to when people go to her site, it correlates with what they will see the experience on her phone. So as well as the Instagram swipe ups. So obviously with Instagram, you're going to need 10,000 followers to get that. Once you get there, Via can really help you grow your list with those swipe ups. So, you know, doubling her list within the last like 30 days and really creating that relationship with their customers, and not necessarily doing that to push sales, but strictly just to build a relationship and opening that conversation through SMS. So I believe the next slide is going to be a little bit more on her strategy on the stories, Infeed, and SMS. So Sammy, I think this question for you. What have you seen be successful with your stories and Infeed? Is there a certain strategy, or I guess kind of, if you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. I'll go into that. And just to touch really fast on the pop-up on my page for people to sign up for Via, that, like I said, I don't really do sales at my shop. I don't want my customers getting used to thinking that, you know, let's just wait until she does another sell. And so that's a big thing that I do to push people signing up for Via. Is like, okay, well, if you want 15% off, like this is kind of your only chance. Like this is really the only place where you can get it. It's really the only place where we send it out. And so that's been a huge factor in growing my list as well. But then jumping over to Instagram, and as far as marketing strategies go, first of all, stories. Well, first of all, with Instagram in general, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Instagram is amazing. It's such a great platform and such a great opportunity to show what your brand has to offer to this community out there. But then it's also so crazy that like your whole livelihood and everything you depend on is like based off of this app that can change at any minute. So the first thing I would say about Instagram is understanding the algorithm. It changes every day, not every day, but changes weekly, monthly, and it doesn't like send you an email like, hey, by the way, you need to be posting 3 reels a week if you want people to see your stuff. You just kind of have to like educate yourself and stay on top of it and stay ahead of it in order to build your Instagram. So for example, Instagram wants you posting anywhere from like 8 to 10 stories a day. And then they want you posting other things as well. But and then you have to like look at your engagement and look at what time you're posting. You have to, you know, make sure that you're engaging with your Instagram followers so that Instagram will actually show your followers that are following you what you're posting. So for example, like I think Instagram starts at 3% of your followers. Like if you're a business account, they only show 3% of your followers what you're actually posting. Unless you have like a high engagement, or you kind of just like know what you are doing. You almost like have to outsmart Instagram and have a strategy. So first, as far as stories go, that's kind of where I like try to build that personal relationship and kind of like show people what Banks is and what I do, without being so like salesman-y, if that makes sense. So Like I'm almost like kind of like funny and raw, and like if I mess up on what I'm saying, I don't like start over. I'm just like, sorry, like there's cat hair in my mouth. Like I like be like relatable, you know? And I post the 8 to 10 stories a day, like Instagram wants, and I always do include like a swipe up link or anything like that. And the swipe up link has been amazing, by the way, with Deal, that people can literally just like swipe up and click one button, and then all of a sudden they're part of my text club, versus like other companies that I've used in the past, they would have to like manually enter their phone number. And most people are like, oh, I don't really want to deal with that. But yeah, so for stories, that's kind of where I just like show myself, show like a day in the life in my office, or packaging orders, or like, hey, we are almost out of inventory, or almost out of stock of this product, or hey, we just restocked, but we're typically sold out. And I just like try to reiterate like my main key points that are like, we don't do sales here. So like grab it before it's gone, because we always sell out, and we sell out of our product really fast. I do a lot of like polls and engagement things to like get my engagement up. So like I'll ask questions like, hey, have you ordered from us before? And then like if a certain amount of people say no, like I might even DM them and be like, hey, here's like a 20% discount code or something like that. Just building that relationship and making people feel like they know me and who I am, and like almost like they're buying from a friend versus just a store on Instagram. So stories are not really the place where I post like a lot of product pictures. I usually only do that like once or twice a week. It's where I kind of show like, hey, today this is the stack I'm wearing, and I talk about like why Banks is great or special or whatever. And then as far as like in-feed posts, this isn't something that I like focus on a ton, because I kind of feel like I see like a lot of companies just trying to get post a lot. So like every day, like I just want to show up on people's feeds. So I'm just going to post this picture. And really, I feel like your feed is what people, when they see like a story or a reel and they go to your page and they decide if they want to follow or not, they're looking at your feed. So I feel like it's quality over quantity. And also, again, with the algorithm, they only want you posting 2 to 3 times a week on Instagram. It's not a photo sharing app anymore. It's a video app. So my feed is what I kind of like want people to look at, and that to be like the aesthetics and the vibe that makes people want to follow Banks. And if I'm just constantly posting a picture every single day just because I feel like I have to, then I feel like my feed isn't going to be as cohesive. The aesthetic isn't just it's just not going to be as good in my opinion. So for in-feed, I kind of just limit that to 2 to 3 times a week. I make sure that those are really great pictures and that everything vibes together. And then as far as like showing up on people's feeds, that's where I really use like stories and reels, because that's what Instagram wants you to do. And the more you kind of follow the guidelines of Instagram right now, the more followers you're going to get. And then as far as SMS, how I kind of push that on social media, is the swipe up link is great, like I said. But again, I just try to reiterate to my followers and my customers all the time, like, hey, like we don't really do sales here. So if you want 15% off, like now's your chance. And I actually lately have been posting like, hey, but for reals, like sign up for our text messages, because right now we're offering 15%, but like that's a lot. Like next month it's going down to 10%. So like this is like your last chance. And just kind of letting them know like, hey, this is where we're going to do like VIP deals or exclusive discounts or anything like that. So that's kind of how I utilize my social media. But mostly I would just say the most important part is staying up with the algorithm and understanding what Instagram is looking for from people who are from their users during, you know, the month of June or July. It's changing all the time and you don't know what you don't know. So it's like frustrating and you kind of have to do like A/B testing. But yeah, on my stories, I just show myself, and my feed, I just make it all look nice. And then with SMS, I just kind of like make sure my followers know like, hey, like this is the only place you're going to get a discount as of right now. Like, so we do a sell like once a year, it's during Christmas time. So make sure you're a part of it if you want a discount or want discounts in the future or anything like that. So I don't know if you have any more questions about social media or other sales channels, but
I had a quick insight, Sammy. How often or how much of your time is allocated towards posting stories versus an in-feed post? Do you spend majority of your time or energy towards stories, or is that more posts?
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like stories takes so much strategizing. Like posting 8 to 10 stories a day doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but it actually really is. Like I I have to like constantly be thinking of new things to post or new things to talk about. Like people, the number one reason why people unfollow you is because they're like, okay, yeah, we've heard this before, like enough about you, or they get annoyed. So it is like a balance of posting things that I have to say, showing my face, showing product pictures on my stories, tags. That's like a huge one. I feel like one of like the problems, not problems, I guess you would say, but like pain points that I've had and like that I've had to really learn with Instagram is like everyone's so into like the influencers and sending the influencers gifts and getting people to tag them. And I've actually found like quite the opposite has worked better for me. Like Instagram influencers can be a little bit of divas, I found. But like I said, when people order from banks, I want it to be like an experience. So our packaging is beautiful. We put dried flowers in it. It's great jewelry. And we put a thank you gift in half of our orders. It's just like a whole thing that we do. So people tag us in a lot of posts, which is huge, right? Like just such a strong community of loyal girls. Like you do not need 10,000 followers to be successful on Instagram. You really don't. You just need like a strong community of people that like keep coming back to your shop. But what I was saying is like having people tag us in Instagram posts and not just having those people be like influencers that honestly people are kind of annoyed of or over the influencers, you know, were kind of divas or I don't know, just whatever. Posting a certain amount of times each week about like people who are tagging us, then showing my face, then showing product pictures, then engagement posts. Like it is a whole strategy that I'm constantly trying to think of new ideas, how I can keep people interested and not just redo the same thing over and over again. And then as far as my Instagram feed, I mean, those are the pictures that I take and post on my site for product pictures anyway. So I really don't spend that much time on that. I'm like, hey, what would look good? I just want my page to look good so that when people just are deciding if I'm a brand they want to follow or not, they go to my page and they're like, oh, wow, this looks amazing. That's really all the effort I put into that. Most of the time, it's just like my stories and strategizing how I can get the most views and swipe ups from my stories without doing the same thing over and over again.
Awesome. So I think we can open it up now for Q&A. So if anybody has any questions, then for Sammy, you can feel free to send that in the chat. Looks like we have one right now. Sammy, where can you go to find resources on Instagram guidelines? Like, do you self-educate yourself, or is there a certain resource that you go to understand the algorithm or?
Well, you can, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You can always Google it. But the one tool that I've actually found is the most helpful for me, besides Googling and like seeing what the deal is actually Instagram. Like if you know how Instagram knows like what you want to see and what you want to look at. I started like just following a lot of like Instagram coaching accounts and looking at their reels. It would be like, did you know that Instagram, blah, 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 blah. And then I would save it and refer back to it. And now my whole feed is basically just like, people on Instagram who are telling other people on Instagram, like, hey, you need to be posting 3 reels a week if you want to build your following. Or if you want Instagram to see your post, like engage for an hour before you post, or 15 minutes before you post, and then an hour later post it to your story, like this little trick will work. And then I would try that trick and see if it would work. And usually it does. So, I mean, Google is great. There are agencies out there. I feel like you have to be kind of careful with agencies. And just like that, especially with Instagram, because I mean, you can always look at your reports on your insights on Instagram, but as far as agencies go, like having a tangible report is kind of like something that I feel like is, I don't know. It's just something that you kind of have to like keep your eye out for. That's side note. That's one reason actually I love Via so much, is because like I can send out a text message and then like within seconds or minutes, I can see exactly how well that text message is doing and how much money I brought in. But yeah, I would say just as far as knowing the algorithm, Googling it or being on Instagram and following accounts that like are on top of it. Like it is their job to let people know, hey, this is like the new update with Instagram. Make sure that you're doing A, B, C, and D.
Cool. Awesome. One more question from Katie. How frequently do you send messages to different segments through Via? Debating what is too much versus not frequently enough. So
okay. So the rule that I've kind of always heard before I started Via was like 1 a week. But I was talking to Ryan and I feel like I might be a little bit of the exception to the rule just because the people who follow Banks, like I only have 20,000 followers on Banks. Like I'm not this huge brand or this huge company, but the people that do follow me are so loyal that we started with one a week and now we're kind of like testing how many people are like going to unsubscribe once if we send out more than one a week, or like how it's doing, because every time I send out a text, it's so hard because I make so much money every time I send out a text, but I don't want to A, annoy people, and B, I don't want people unsubscribing. So right now we're kind of just sticking to like 1 to 1.5 a week, but we are testing that going up because so far, like so far when we send more, like I'm still making more money and people don't seem like they're annoyed. We're not really having a lot of people unsubscribe. So right now it's like 1.5 a week. I mean, it would be awesome if I can send 2 a week and, still not have people unsubscribing, but
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we'll just kind of test it and see how it goes moving forward.
Cool. And I would speak to that as well. Like, I think being Sammy's account manager, I've helped her build out different segments for her different audiences. I think when you're starting off with SMS, just focusing on really just hitting everybody that accepts marketing. Once you get to a level of 1,000, 2,000 subscribers, that's when you can start segmenting out and creating different segments, catering the messaging specifically for those people. But as of right now, yeah, Sammy, we really just kind of hit everybody. Every select, maybe every other campaign, once, twice a month, we'll send it to like a high value segment. But as of right now, yeah, we would say really just kind of hitting everybody for right now. So cool. I think that's really everything. Want to give some time for Quentin as well. So thank you so much for your expertise, Sammy. And I turn the time back over to, I believe, Kurt.
Great. Yeah, we'll shoot it to Tamara for an intro. Yep, that's great.
You're good. You're good. I was like, Kurt can actually introduce him because he's pretty dang awesome. But we both know Quentin, so I'm super excited. Sammy, thank you so much. Your knowledge is super amazing. So I'm really appreciative. And we definitely will probably have more questions here at the end. But I have the pleasure of introducing Quentin next, which is awesome. So Quentin's been in the marketing space for over 5 years. Specializing in the experience of millennial entrepreneurs, Quentin has produced, hosted, and interviewed top entrepreneurs in a variety of areas. So since 2012, his passions have been business, and his future goal is to become an angel investor. Quentin is currently head of operations for Urban Eden. It's an all-natural product business specializing in handmade soaps located in Atlanta, Georgia. And during his freshman year at Georgia State University, Quentin met his beautiful wife, Taryn. So we're super excited for both of those, but they've been inseparable for 7 years and going. When he is not at Urban Eden, he loves all things sports, especially the NBA. And I quote this from Quentin. He said, "If I weren't doing what I'm doing now, I'd probably be an NBA beat writer or something like Stephen A. Smith." So end quote. Quentin is passionate. He's a passionate millennial leader who wants nothing more to provide value to the place. Jim Rohn has a quote that says, "How do you get paid in the marketplace? And it's by bringing value to it." And this is something that Quentin strives to pursue every day. So Quentin, we're so excited to have you here and speak with us. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm so glad to be here.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to turn the time over to you, my friend.
Awesome. Just a little bit about me. As she said, I'm Quentin Lewis, founder of Urban Eden. A little bit about Urban Eden. Urban Eden was started unofficially in 2015, kind of started officially in 2016 alongside my wife. I had a business before this one. I had a landscape design and gardening business. And we were interning at an urban farm, just in that whole plants and soil type of vibe, farmer's market. And my wife was kind of just looking for a skill to do. So she came across soap making in a craft book. She learned it doing a melting pour at first. And then I looked at it and was like, hey, you got to learn how to make this from scratch. So she learned how to make it from scratch. And then just kind of organically just was posting on social media. People wanted it. And then, we formed the business and, formed a website, Shopify site, and just, got into farmers markets and then just was slowly building, for the next few years. And then it wasn't until 2019 when we were in my parents' garage making the soap at the time. We needed another space. So we got like 1,000 square foot brick and mortar spot, like 700 square feet in the back was for production, and 300 square feet in the front was for a store. We stayed in there. We still have that store to this day. It wasn't until 2020 that we massively outgrew that space due to COVID. We experienced massive growth. We honestly like 10x'd everything that year. And now we are in 2021, and you know we are in I'm actually in my office in our warehouse. We have a 6,000 square foot warehouse, but we actually got another one. So now we're up to about 8,500 square feet of our warehouse, and then we turned that 1,000 square foot brick and mortar into a full-on experiential store now. So that's kind of where we are, and me and my wife, we kind of run the business now. To answer the question about how Urban Eden is unique, I think what really makes us unique is our story. I think we just have like a good, genuine, authentic story. Just me and my wife just came together. We brought our skills together. She's like the artist, and I'm like the business, marketing, operational person. So we kind of combine those skills together to form this company, and then we've grown it to where it is today. And what does Urban Eden have or do that's different from others? I think really what's different is that we stay true to the plant-based principles of like, we only use herbs and essential oils, hence the name Urban Eden. You know, it started off with the love of herbs. And once my wife figured out that you could put herbs and essential oils in soap, and let me back up really quick. We know that herbs and essential oils are healthy, and we know that those things will do great things to our health, but we don't always have time or whatnot to take those things, or we forget. So she said, hey, if we put this in a soap, people take showers every day. So this is a good way that you can get your herbs and essential oils. So that's kind of was how Urban Eden was started. And that's kind of what makes us different, is that we kind of stick to those principles. And bar soap is like our mainstay product. It's like our burger, and everything else is like the drink and fries. So I think our soaps have like the funky looking edges and everything. So I think people really enjoy that. So yeah, that's about Urban Eden.
Awesome. And Quentin, maybe this portion right here, would love to, for those that tuned in last time, we did a highlight of Quentin's rapid growth that he saw, you know, a 2-3 month period with Via due to his social media and giveaway strategies that he was implementing. These are some of the results we've seen in the last few months. And so maybe just with that as an intro, Quentin, would love for you to speak to, you know, what you've seen with your social media strategies and how those have led to your SMS strategy and these results we're seeing here.
So yeah, you know, speaking of social media is very big for us. We've kind of used the principle of we've just really been documenting our journey. Like if you kind of go to our social media, we talk about Instagram or a YouTube or whatnot, you'll just see like this story and this journey. Like you can literally see it as you just maybe go to our first post on Instagram or our first video on YouTube, and you'll just see this journey that's just we've been documenting and just keeping all of our customers involved, you know, throughout the whole thing. So, but it wasn't until you know, this year is when we were introduced to Via. I think we got on in January, right? I think it was January, and you know, we got with Via. We came from Postscripts. But in March, we had a campaign, it was called March Madness, where we just kind of wanted to get really, we kind of wanted to like do something kind of big. We're coming out of this, we're still in the pandemic, I would say, but now we're kind of getting to this post-pandemic world or whatnot. So we wanted to do like a giveaway on social media where as we're coming out of COVID now, we wanted to say, hey, we're going to do a giveaway to Tulum. I was seeing that Tulum was like a big destination spot that everyone was going to for some reason. And it's funny that on that video, Chaz was talking, I think Tamara was talking about how Tulum was looking so beautiful. But we decided we were going to do a giveaway to Tulum. And we were going to have people opt in via text. And I thought that was a great idea to get people, not only build our list, but also to just get, new people introduced to the brand and just get some excitement. I think that really brought some excitement to the whole March Madness campaign that we were doing. So we did a huge giveaway for the trip. And then we did like these little mini giveaways throughout the month where we were just doing things like we gave away a year's supply of soap. We gave away, I think we did 2-year supply of soap giveaways. I think that we did like a gift card giveaway, and we were just doing these micro giveaways. And then the big giveaway, we announced it at the end of the month. And then we did like this massive sale. We don't, and kind of similar to what Sammy was saying, how she says that they don't really do any sales. We do very minimal sales. We do a few, but we had never in the history of our business had ever did the sale that we did at the end of March, which was like a 50% off sale that we did. And it was a massive sale, massive sale. It honestly had put us back about 3 weeks in terms of fulfillment. But that's a good problem to have, I would say. And I think it was due to the giveaway, because so many people entered into the giveaway and were just so pumped up for that whole month that when we announced that we were doing this sale at the end of the month, like people just stormed it. So I don't even know what the numbers were. And I guess, you have them up right there, what the monthly revenue was that month. I think that was just from SMS.
Correct.
So yeah, I think that giveaway really primed it to that point to so that we could have that massive success at the end of March. But as you can see that we've been growing the subscriber count pretty consistently every month. And I actually think that this month now, I think we've had even, I think March, I think at the time, March was such a great month and we were very excited about what happened in March. But I think even now in July, we've experienced even more growth than March due to the new strategy that we put in.
Yeah, and maybe Chaz, if we go to this next slide, or maybe back to, I apologize. Let's go back to the overall results. Yeah, so just to touch on what Quentin's saying, I mean, since January, you'd been with Postscript for about 7 months, right? So now about the same time you've been with Via now, right? Because we're in July. You had about 15,000 subscribers when Quentin started. Now they're just under 50,000 subscribers. They have about 35,000 new subscribers in the last 6.5 months. Their revenue has skyrocketed and their subscriber growth is just like Quentin said. We thought March was like the pinnacle. Worried, will we be able to repeat that? Will the list growth continue? And now, I mean, July, I think we're an additional 10,000 subscribers just in the first few weeks of July. And so I think it'd be interesting. And there's a question even here in the chat that kind of leads the conversation here. It would be interesting to hear, Chaz, if we kind of go into the strategy portion of the slide deck, Quentin, what you guys are doing to build that list, to build them as SMS lists, and how you're leveraging social media to do that.
Yeah, I mean, as you have here about the growth strategies, of course, we definitely have that landing page as far as the pop-up. I think the pop-up was such a really good idea in terms of just being more active. And I talked about that before, because when we were at Postscripts, we were very, I would say, passive with the growth, but now I think that we're just, way more active with it, and of course the Instagram swipe ups, I got to get better with the Instagram swipe ups. And, hearing Sammy's, presentation definitely kind of reminded me about, definitely to get on that more. Because I think that even though we're experiencing so much growth, we could even have even more growth if we would really hone in on Instagram swipe ups even more. And then also just maybe being a little bit more active as far as like just getting people to call to action to go to maybe the link in the bio to get to the site to, subscribe and save with the pop-up. Getting people to the site to the pop-up. Do you want me to kind of speak more to the about what's going on this month as far as what we're doing this month?
Yeah, I think that's even the next slide is kind of what your plans are moving forward, right? You've seen killer success. We're doing a great job. It's working well. But what are we going to do to continue forward and make this even better?
So as you have here, definitely increasing our stuff on Instagram stories. That's something that we definitely want to hone in even more, because it's like we're experiencing all this growth, and that's the positive thing. We're experiencing all this growth, and we still have more room to even get better with it. And talking about the flows and the automations, that's something that we definitely want to get in, because I think we only have about maybe 1 or 2 automations right now, but we want to definitely just get better with that, because I think that we have it set up on our email marketing, but we want to definitely get it in terms of our SMS. Some of the strategies that we're doing that's leading to the list growth, especially this month, is that, so since we're a consumable and we're a natural body care product, and we really truly believe in our product, we basically decided that, hey, we're going to give our first time customers free samples of our soaps. So we're like, hey, we're going to give you guys free samples of our soaps. So people get 4 free samples and they get to choose whatever ones they want. We have 15 different varieties. They get to pick them. And we're banking on that these people will come back to purchase more of our soap. Because we've seen the reviews. We did data analysis of it. People usually buy our samples, and then they come back and buy, we have a product called a 5 for $25 where you can get 5 full bars for $25. So that's the strategy is now. So it was like, hey, instead of having people just pay for this, how about we just give it to them? And then they're going to come back. Because when you find a good soap that you like, you're going to continue to buy that and continue to use that. You know, it's not something where you're just going to buy it one time and just be like, hey, I'm done with it. Like, especially with a company that's going to give you the first ones for free, you know, we're like, hey, this soap is so good, we guarantee you that you're going to like it and you're going to come back. So that's kind of what we've implemented now. And then once we kind of implement some of the flows and automations with that strategy is going to look even more brilliant, because people are going to come back even more, and then we're going to put the flows and automations in there. Like, this is just the first month that we did this, but I'm just looking forward to seeing how we do, and even in August and September, and I'm even really looking forward to seeing how we do in Q4, because usually Q4 is usually a time where I think, I could be wrong, but people don't really focus on customer acquisition as much in Q4. But I believe that we could actually probably acquire a good amount of customers still in Q4, when historically in the past, I haven't really focused on it. I usually focus on it Q1 through Q3.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point. I mean, for those listening in, obviously, I mean, as we heard from Sammy and Quentin, they know their stuff. I mean, I've had the opportunity to work really closely with Quentin since January, and appreciate your insight here. I think you're a perfect example of what happens when we were talking about it the other day, when you go from passively just kind of letting SMS run itself, right? Or even social media strategy, just kind of go with the flow, versus actively targeting and trying to build and own that data. And so, I mean, maybe to move into a little bit of the Q&A, and for those tuning in, feel free to kind of chime in on the chat. I have a few questions to kind of guide the conversation. I mean, in your opinion, how important has that shift been from rented audience versus owned audience? How important has that been, or what emphasis have you been putting on that?
No, that's like so important, especially, I mean, I know everyone's been hearing about this iOS thing and the deletion of the third-party cookies that are, I don't know if it's here yet, if not coming. Like, we got to really prepare for that, and leaning on your list, like, that's going to be just much more important. So I think if it's so much more important now to get very active, you know, with trying to get people to get on your list, and just being very active in that, and not be passive. This is not a time to be passive. This is the time to get very, very active, because the landscape is changing drastically. I mean, we all saw, I don't know if everyone saw, but we know that e-commerce last year took a huge boom. I think they say that e-commerce was catapulted ahead by 5 years. But then this year, to me, it's like, okay, now the iOS stuff is in now. So the landscape is kind of changing. It's a little bit more difficult. Well, what I saw was that it was more difficult to acquire customers this year. So we've leaned a lot more on our list, and we've said, hey, we got to try to figure out ways to get people to the list so that we can communicate with them that way, because it's much more harder to acquire customers via all these third-party platforms.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a great point. I'd be interested, you know, for both Quentin and Sammy on this. I mean, once you convert them from your rented audience, right, your social media, whatnot, and they come into the owned portion where you have their number, you're communicating, how important is that, or what role has that played to be able to engage in such a personal way and leverage that own data? What impact has that had for you guys?
I think it's a big impact. I mean, I think the way, and I think Sammy spoke about it as well, like about the relationship building, because you don't want to come out and just, hey, buy this, buy this, buy this. Like, our first follow up with them is like, hey, welcome to the tribe. Like, you know, welcome to Urban Eden. We're introducing ourselves as to who we are, as the people behind the brand. You know what I'm saying? And then, we will, once we make that introduction, then you can kind of like, lead them to whatever else that you want to do. But just make sure that you introduce yourself as a person. Like, make it seem as if just like you're having a conversation with someone. Don't try to be as quick to just try to convert them to like a customer and making that sale,
I love that. Sammy, would love to hear from you as well. Looks like you may be on mute there.
I'm sorry. I'm off now.
No
But
worries.
just
You
to
gotta
touch
love
on
it.
that, that's kind of the same thing that I was gonna say is like when I send a text, for example, I get so annoyed when all these companies like send me these texts and they're like 50% off, like is like the opening line or whatever. I don't even usually open them, but I try to make it sound like use the same verbiage that I use on like my packaging or on my Instagram, like, hey girl, hey, or like even like come in with a joke. So like they feel like they're getting a text from me versus getting a text from a company that's trying to get them to buy a product. And also again, like not coming in with like the sales pitchy sales texts that are like the ones that we're used to getting. I feel like the pictures make a huge difference on that too, because they're kind of like, oh, what is this? And it almost feels like you're getting like you're almost like opening Pinterest, for example. Like my pictures, I try to keep them like super on brand and have like a very certain aesthetic. But when I send that text mixed with my personality so that they're not turned off by like a sales pitch, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. And I think invitation for me would be, I would go subscribe for both Banks and Urban Eden's SMS list if you want to kind of SMS 101 on what they should look like. So, and I think it's important to highlight that it does not have to be a sale, and the most lucrative campaigns that we see with our clients are when it's not sales focused, it's relationship focused. So they buy from people they like, they buy from people they trust. So if you can leverage your social media and your SMS to become that person, that's when it will increase sales for you. So really appreciate those thoughts. I know Ryan threw one in here, obviously interactive between SMS and social media. We've talked about leveraging social to build SMS. Have you ever tried the reverse, tried an SMS campaign to try and build engagement or build your social media list?
I have not yet. I've only been with Via for like 2 months. Yeah, it hasn't been very long. Also, we are just kind of like focusing on building our list, and we actually got so many sales so fast from Via that's kind of been like my site is out of stock so often that like then having the inventory and then getting the sales with it, like now we're like, okay, we're ready to do like the A/B testing and the different like campaigns and segments and stuff. But as far as like the opposite, I haven't, but Ryan always talks about doing a giveaway. And I mean, we like have a whole list of things that we're trying next month. So I'm like, now that we've kind of tested the waters and I know I'm super familiar with Via and we've grown our list a little bit, this will be the month that we dive into like doing the giveaways and all that stuff for building my
Awesome.
through Via.
That's great. We'll have a little TBD on that. We'll provide an update on the next one. That's great. Thank you very much. And Quentin, we'd love your thoughts there as well.
Yeah, honestly, I haven't. That's actually a great idea to do that. I mean, I should do that. And I'll be honest with you, like, and I think I told you this, Kurt, a long time ago, like, I was like, I'm getting comfortable with SMS now, because before I even got with Postscripts and even got into SMS, I was kind of fearful of getting on SMS. I'm like, it's almost like you're getting into their phone. I'm like, because I'm just now getting to the point where like I'm emailing a whole lot more and everything. It's probably started last year, but now I'm like, okay, it's like this shift now of getting more to the SMS. SMS is becoming more popular, so I think I'm getting more comfortable with that, and I think that's a good idea to do that. Because one of the things I want to grow is our YouTube. I think YouTube is a huge one. So I think we're at like almost 8,000 subscribers. So I think it would be good maybe if we could send out something to get people to boost some of those social channels. I think that's a great idea.
I love that. Yeah, Ryan, go for it.
I can speak to that as well. So, I mean, working at Via, being a customer success manager, I work with, a big book of business, and I work with a lot of different industries and verticals. I have one particular client that I work with that he pushes on every purchase from his store. He does a welcome message or a thank you message pushing to his YouTube page. So asking people to subscribe, and he's actually seen some great results from that. So yeah, like I think that's something to keep in your pocket for like a future strategy for anybody listening on this call.
I think there's a few common questions that are coming in here, and we've got anyone on this call from customers that have been with us for a long time, potential customers that are just hearing about VIA, learning about us for the first time. And I think as someone that deals with people in those initial stages, when we deal with clients, the kind of uncomfortable or reservations or not wanting to be intrusive is a really common topic that we hear. So how have you overcome that, or how did you get comfortable, right? How did you understand, okay, SMS is okay, it's not going to be annoying, and it actually is a benefit for my customers?
You want me to go first? I'll say well, it's so funny because when I was with Postscript before, I like never looked at this stuff, but now I'm like obsessed with looking at all the reports. But I feel like the main thing I look at is just how many people are unsubscribing. So like finding that balance of, okay, like, am I bothering them? Or like, they signed up for it for a reason, like, do they want to keep getting messages? Do they want more messages? And then again, like if my unsubscribe rate were to go down, then I would just think, okay, I maybe need to chill it for a minute, or maybe I need to like reevaluate what kind of text message I'm sending. That's kind of my strategy.
Awesome.
Answer that, like, because I've seen a question about how did you get comfortable with doing SMS. Honestly, I know for me, like, I think I remember Kurt when you first when we first was in contact and we saw how much people we had on our list. I was like, oh wow, we have a lot of assets here, and I wasn't tapping into that. And then, over the past few months, once I started to study, like, really get into the iOS thing and just kind of where we're going with this internet and more regulation is coming, and third-party cookies and all of that, I started realizing, like, okay, I need to really kind of like get on this SMS and just really tap it into my list more, because it is going to change. And if you do not have a list, it's going to be much, much harder to really, grow out here. So, these are your assets. These are assets in your business that you need to rely on. I mean, once you kind of get over that mindset of that, like, this is your asset, like, this is yours, tap into it. You could be leaving money on the table. Like, that's kind of how I kind of got over it, and just really just trying it. Try it out, send some messages. You'll see some results. Some results will happen, because again, I didn't know my list was that big when we first got on here. I was like, oh, 15,000. I didn't know we had that many people. Because I think it was just because, again, I was passively growing it. And I think it wasn't until we changed it where we started actively like collecting the numbers and things like that. So
Yeah, I think you both bring up a great point that leverage the data that you get back from the messages you're sending out to listen to your customers, right? They'll let you know. If it's too much, you'll know. Unsubscribe rates will increase. And to Chaz's point, I mean, I think both of you consistently have lower unsubscribe rates, right? Under 1%, under 2%, which is healthy. It's a healthy list size. And so I would echo that. If you're wondering how much is too much, listen to the customers. Industry standard, we recommend 4 to 6 a month. It's kind of what we found, enough to be top of mind, but not cross that line. But with Quentin, we started with 2 or 3, and now we're up to the 5 or 6 range. So he's noticed it's a good fit, time to send out more. And we've even discussed doing more messages to leverage it more effectively. So your customers will kind of keep you filled in there. I think for the sake of time, would love to maybe open it up. We'll end here in a few minutes, but would love to give both Quentin and Sammy, if there's any last piece of advice or counsel or SMS wizardry that you'd like to offer to the group here before we end, would love to hear from you, and then we'll go ahead and close after that. Maybe Sammy, we start with you, and then Quentin, if you'll finish us off.
I mean, I would just say, don't overthink it. It's really not that hard. You just really have to pay attention to how many text messages you're sending out and your unsubscribe rate. And that kind of tells you, like we just talked about, if you're sending too much or too little, but it's really not that hard. Like, I mean, as long as you are, it sounds so cheesy, but they always say, like, just be yourself. Like coming across as your authentic self and representing your brand as like a true person, sending pictures that are, cohesive with your brand and your vibe and your personality. I really just don't think it's that complicated. I think it just seems a little intimidating at first, but VIA makes it so easy. It makes it so easy to grow your list with the opt-in tool and like the pop-up. The website is so user-friendly and manageable. You instantly get a report. So, I mean, when I first signed on to VIA, I was a little bit like, oh, this seems like complicated. And then like, I just had so many questions, but now, I mean, I've only been with VIA for like 2 months and I'm like, this is piece of cake. It's so easy. I just wish I would have done it sooner and not overthought what I was sending. Just pay attention to your unsubscribe rate.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
Thanks, Sammy.
yeah, I would say the same thing Sammy did. Like, really, I've always been a person that just, I like to try lots of different things. And this was not something that was like way out left field. I mean, it's another list to build, it's another avenue. So, you know, your competitors are doing it. You know, don't be that person that just was so afraid that you just didn't at least try it. And like, you know, at least try it. Start off with a giveaway. I like the giveaway thing because you can just have people opt into the giveaway by putting in their number. And that's a great way. And then VIA will help you to even facilitate, because they helped me facilitate the giveaway. I told them, hey, this is a giveaway that we want to do. They helped me to make the landing page for it. And then boom, the numbers start rolling in. So start off with that if that's something, if you're looking to build it, you know, maybe quickly or whatnot.
Love it. Well, can't thank you both enough. Sammy, Quentin, really appreciate the insight you've provided. I hope for those that have been attending, you took some notes, because these are two, you know, business professionals that know what they're doing. I'm excited to see you continue to succeed, and all of us can, you know, implement this of the sweet spot, or kind of that correlation between social, SMS, and leveraging that own audience. If you have questions after this, please feel free to reach out, or, you know, go to viacustomers.com, you name it. But we'll see you on the next webinar. And Quentin and Sammy, thank you again. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you soon.